All right, good evening. The next Planet MicroCap presentation is Laird Superfoods. I have Jason Beef and Anya Hamill.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am the Jason Veith side of of those two. Anya Hamill's our CFO. I'm the CEO. We're excited to be here and share a little bit more about Laird Superfood with all of you. I don't see a lot of recognizable or familiar faces in the crowd, so hopefully this won't be too hostile for us. We're friendly. So I'm going to kick off by telling you a little bit. I'm going to assume you don't know a lot about the company. I want to kick off by telling you a little bit about our founders. This is actually the 10th year for Laird Superfood here in 2025. We were founded by Laird Hamilton, the gentleman that you see on the left side of your screen there, and his wife, Gabby Reese. Laird is probably the best known surfer in the world. He's lesser known as one of the absolute foremost experts on health and wellness and nutrition and performance, and really that intersection where those four vectors meet. Folks that are in the know him as such. He really is an incredible vestibule of knowledge, as is his wife, Gabby Reese. Gabby, probably a little bit more known in that space. She was originally a professional volleyball player and MTV shock jock, for those of you that are as old as me and can remember that. But she's since become a podcaster, a major influencer within the health and wellness space, very knowledgeable as well. For the two of them, as you might imagine, their brands have really been built on all of the activities that they've done to date. So you think about Laird and really being at the pinnacle of surfing, a guy that surfs 60, 80, 100-foot waves. Also, is known for a couple of waves that nobody else had ever surfed to date, and a number of inventions within that world, that surf world, that then became tow-in surfing as well as stand-up paddle boarding. And he invented the golf board, for those of you that golf and have ridden around on the golf boards. He's been an entrepreneur, an inventor, but really for the two of them, it's health and wellness that form the foundation of everything else that they've done. And below health and wellness, at the absolute bottom, sits food and their relationship with food and nutrition and how that fuels performance. And that's really the founding story behind Laird Superfood, the brand that you now know as a food company, because it was that food that Laird and Gabby were consuming that ultimately led a friend to recognize would be the foundation of a great, active, healthy lifestyle or diet. And so they developed a creamer that allowed Laird and other surfers in the community to go out and surf for multiple hours at a time on nothing but the creamer. And the reality behind that is the creamer is basically just it's a very high fat coconut milk product to which we add a little bit of coconut sugar. The coconut sugar is the kindling wood that you put on a fire. The big oaks are the coconut milk powder, which essentially then becomes an energy source for you for multiple hours of exercise. I myself found it before I was CEO here. I found it and realized I could go run for 10 or 12 or 15 miles while I was doing some long endurance training on nothing but a couple of cups of coffee and a couple of blueberries. And so I realized there was something special. And that's really what it was. It was this incredible whole food product that Laird and Gabby had developed. And I'll go into more detail on that as we go through it. Our business, just to give you an overview of the business, is really built around 5 strategies. These are 5 strategies. I'll talk about the team in a minute, but they're 5 strategies that are tried and true. There's nothing really inventive about them. And I think as an investor, I hope that that will resonate with you. The first one is around growing the core business. We've talked about this as a business that can grow from what we just reported as just around a $44 million business last year to being $100 million over the course of the next 3 to 4 years. That's based on what we'll refer to as blocking and tackling. That's just taking the products that we have today, maybe adding a small line extension, but expanding distribution, getting into more stores. Right now, we're not in a lot of stores in the conventional world, very few, in fact. So you think about Albertsons, Safeway, or Giant Eagle up in the Northeast, or Kroger. These are all stores that we have very little distribution in. We have more distribution in the natural channel, but there too, still very, very little. We have almost 40 SKUs in Sprouts, by far our number one retailer amongst any in the country. At Whole Foods, which is a much larger retailer, and you would think maybe even a better brand fit, we have 7 SKUs. So just a tremendous opportunity just by taking the products that we have today and expanding them out into more distribution, bringing more consumers into the fold by through our marketing to generate additional awareness, having product trial as we sample products and get products sent out in little mailings. So a tremendous opportunity just in that first strategy to grow the business up to $100 million. Secondly, innovating in superfoods. This is where we start to come into new categories, bring out new products. We recently upsized our large size product. We see an opportunity to further premiumize that, our large size liquid product, that is. We see opportunities in the single serve space, in the food service space. We're not really in food service today. By getting to single serve packages, now you can have, and maybe you saw them on our table today, you can have packages of lattes or greens or hydration products that all of you can take traveling with you or to work in the morning or just consume at home or while you're out. And that creates obvious additional opportunities for us. So really just around expanding that distribution and then some small launches to line extend and get to a couple of new channels, we see tremendous growth opportunity. The third strategy is around improving the supply chain. Our supply chain was pretty broken a couple of years ago when Anya and I arrived here. We're each just over 3 years here with Laird Superfood. 3 years ago, we were about a $35 million top line business, losing $24 million a year. And we were being told by investors and analysts, just keep spending, money is free right now, just spend. And fortunately, we didn't. We pivoted, and then the rest is kind of history with Silicon Valley Bank and other challenges that emerged pretty quickly. We retrenched. We shut down our own facilities. We brought our supply chain into an asset-light model, so co-packed, 3PL distributed, and we took over direct sourcing. And as a result, we pushed gross margin from what was effectively around 15%. I think it was being reported in the low 20s at that point. But that was just because of overproduction and over creation of inventory to absorb fixed overhead at the time. We, at a time when the business was slowing, so it was about 15%. We have improved it to over 40% during that time and brought it to a full variable model so we can scale up and down in any given month as demand plays out. So that supply chain has become more resilient. It's become more flexible. It's frankly, in a great position even now with tariffs and what's going on in the marketplace today. And I can take any questions on that. So we feel really great about where that is, but we still have a lot of opportunity as we go forward. And as we become a bigger business, we can operationalize all of the aspects of the supply chain that I just mentioned to drive additional efficiencies. 4, we simplified all the capabilities, improved the work processes. When I got here, we were 144 people at Laird Superfood. We now are running a business that is about 50% larger with 28 people in the business. And we don't need a lot more people to be able to double this business. We need a few more folks, but the executive team, as I'll show you in another slide, is in place. It's a team, and I'll just go to it actually and share it with you. Because the last piece is really just the scoreboard around improving the P&L and holding those margins. This team is really the secret sauce behind the business. As I mentioned, we downsized by more than 120 people over the last couple of years. Everybody up here is new to the team. So Anya and I worked together previously at White Wave Foods. That was one of the, along with Hain Celestial, one of the first 2 big public healthy food companies that emerged after year 2000. We built that business up to more than $4 billion and then sold it to Danone. At that point, Anya and I did a couple of other things and then had a chance to work together here again. Gil Arvizu runs sales. I brought Gil in. Gil worked for me at White Wave for 7 or 8 years, bless you. For 7 or 8 years, he now runs sales for us. He's a total bulldog. He's the reason we're getting all this incremental distribution that we've been talking about on previous calls. Jared Larkin is the one guy that didn't come with us from White Wave. Jared was in the business, but buried a couple of layers below the individual that was running supply chain at the time. Jared's an absolute star and has proven, as I mentioned, to build just an incredibly adaptive and resilient supply chain for us. And then Martha did work for me previously at White Wave as well. She runs marketing for us just before this, she was at Charlotte's Web, helping to build out that public business. Great marketer, adept across social media, digital media, great with in-store activation and shopper marketing. She's great at DTC marketing, Amazon marketing, and retail marketing. So we really have a special crew of folks here. And as I mentioned, I think it's 28 people that we currently have in the organization that are running a couple $1 million per head at this point from a revenue perspective. We play in large categories. These are large and attractive categories. Plant-based creamers, $9 billion category, mostly in the liquid space. We didn't bring any products, but if you've seen our products, those powder products that you see on the left side, we are a category of one, if you remember that very famous business book. We don't have any competition in the powder creamer space. And if you try our product relative to any other powder creamers, you understand why. The simplicity of the ingredients, the minimal processing requires that we have the absolute best ingredients, and that's what we've done. We have found the absolute best tasting, cleanest, most minimal coconutty tasting products that have created just an exceptional product. Similarly, in the instant latte space, which you see in that $6 billion space, in that instant latte space, again, another very big category, one where we don't have any real competition in the plant-based, healthier space. So we just continue in these spaces to convert consumers over to health and wellness foods. Similarly, in the coffee category, very large category, obviously. Functional coffee is where all the growth, or where the highest level of growth is at this point. And they're really just two players, us and another company called Four Sigmatic. So we're in the right places in all of these categories. They're very large categories. And when you think back to what I was describing as a platform and an opportunity for growth, you can see why. I'll skip this, really just these, or I'll go quickly, I should say. These are the channels that we're playing in. The inverted pyramid is created to show you a structure where we have essentially put all of our products that we had. We quit trying to minimize the number of products that we had. Instead, we made sure they were all profitable, and we uploaded them all to the DTC channel only. So you can have any product that's essentially a widget on a screen that consumers can click, that activates an EDI interface that drops off an order back to a warehouse. So as long as you have a pallet position of product and a widget on a screen, you can effectively manage a DTC operation. And when you run it like that, you can now have a very wide portfolio, which frankly creates a reason for consumers to continue to come shop at DTC sites in a day where largely consumers are instead migrating to Amazon or buying inside of grocery stores again. So we've been able to maintain our sales and even grow our sales very significantly last year in the DTC space by having that more extensive product set and using unique content on that site as well. As you then work your way down through Amazon into natural, conventional, and club, you winnow down the portfolio breadth to make sure that you can manage that portfolio across the channel in a cost-effective and profitable way. A little bit about our consumer. Our consumer is, it started with that Laird and Gabby friends and family. That's where the brand really got its start. But we've migrated that into the health enthusiast. And fortunately for us, the health enthusiasts continue to grow, with all of the, especially podcast dialogue that's taking place right now around the bad foods that we're eating and all of the drugs that folks are taking. There is a big, I'm sure you all know this, a very big movement afoot right now to eat healthier, to focus on longevity as well as health span by virtue of the food that you're eating and consuming now and what you're putting in your bodies. And so that health enthusiast space where we thought, eventually we'll start to run out of that and we'll have to migrate out and start to target consumers a little further away from our core position. We don't have to anymore. That bucket is continually being filled right now by all of the education that's taking place, as I mentioned in podcasts, but generally across the media sphere. I'll skip this. I will skip this. In fact, our marketing, the other thing I say about marketing is it's largely Laird and Gabby now. We are incredibly authentic. We don't go out and try to buy a lot of customers. Word of mouth plays a big role for us. We do use this individual right here, Ryan Dodge, who is a chef that helps to take our products and create recipes that we use on Instagram and X and out into the social media sphere. He's probably, beyond Laird and Gabby, probably the next biggest usage that we have from content creation. And then we get a lot of organic creation from various consumers and various influencers that just like the products and pop it up. Recently, Josh Brolin's, I always forget his dad's name, but his dad was recently posting, and again, just a great hit for us. And that authenticity is frankly more valuable than anything that you can buy anyhow. Quick view at retail of what's going on at retail. I mean, you can see in every month for the last 3 years, we're growing the business. So year over year, growing the business. So just a 3-year great run at retail through a quality withdrawal that we had a couple of years ago. It didn't slow us down. We've had some out of stocks recently, and we'll see how that all plays out when we get the data and show that in the next quarter. But we're largely through the out of stocks, as we mentioned on the last call, and looking really great at retail as well. So this is a really big piece of our strategy. When I got here 3 years ago, we were about 65% DTC, and DTC was busted. That was when Apple had collapsed social media's ability to find consumers through iOS. You remember that commercial where the symphony hall and all the people that were there were blowing up, poof, poof, poof. That was social media companies could no longer track you as a consumer when you opted out. So that busted the model. Our CAC went from about $25 to $145 over the course of 3 months. No longer efficient to go, given our LTV and our gross margin, it was no longer efficient or effective or profitable to go find new customers. So we needed to make a strategic pivot. We did, and you can see the success on that page. This is the future for us. We think our DTC business is great. We'll continue to invest into it in an organic fashion with Laird and Gabby, as I mentioned, but we will never go back to spending on $145 acquisitions. Instead, we're using Amazon as marketplace. Everybody here, I'm sure, raise your hand. Everybody shops at Amazon. You want that product to be delivered next day. DTC can't do that. Amazon is always going to win against DTCs. We've leaned into that instead of trying to fight it. And then on the flip side, over in bricks and mortar, we see that as the absolute biggest part of our business as we go forward, and you can see that on the slide. Great wholesale last year. I can't share a lot on what's going on there now, but we expect much bigger things in 2025, even than we had last year with that 19% growth last year. E-com, 32% growth. As I mentioned, this is Amazon growth. DTC had a good year last year. It grew, I think just around 10%, 9 or 10%. So you can do the math and figure out Amazon grew a lot faster. Amazon for us didn't quite double, but it was nearly a double. And we know that there's just tremendous opportunity for us as we go forward in that channel. We're still seeing strong growth as we go now. Anya, I'll let you go through some performance quickly, and then we can open it to questions maybe in just 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay. So 2024 was a tremendously successful year in terms of achieving business performance, and it translated into our financial results. Top line grew 27. And you could see that online business makes up almost 60% of our total sales. So that's Amazon and direct to consumer. And that business grew 32% last year. And then wholesale, which is your retail stores, your in natural channel and conventional channel, as well as club stores, made up 40% or just over 40% and grew 19% last year. So you could see this is quarterly net sales growth. So we had consistently grew on net sales since Q3 of 23. So that's about 18 months of track record of net sales growth. And notice, meantime, while top line was growing, marketing had come down, was cut almost in half in terms of percent of net sales growth, or percent of net sales. Through increasing efficiency in where we invest our marketing dollars. Gross margin is another bright spot and something we worked really hard on over the last 24 months. So we had achieved gross profit dollars growth of just over 70% and 1,070 basis points. So it's 10 points of gross margin expansion, reporting 41% gross margin last year. And you could see there on the graph, that's best in class CPG gross margins against some of the peers that we track and benchmark ourselves to. How did we do it? There were really 3 key initiatives. We got out of our own manufacturing that was highly inefficient and had high fixed overhead cost. We transitioned to third-party co-packers. That's asset-light model, and we have great partners in that space. We also shifted to direct procurement on key raw materials rather than using brokers, and that improved quality and improved margins. And we continuing to find efficiencies in our supply chain through reformulating and optimizing our products. This is bottom line performance. Adjusted EBITDA is really the closest proxy for cash. We have about $2 million in stock-based comp, which is non-cash, which is reported in our bottom line on net income or net loss. This is why we moved to adjusted EBITDA that take that out. And so you could see that for 3 consecutive quarters, we're pretty much at break even in terms of EBITDA. And that translates into cash. We have 3 consecutive quarters as well as full year of positive cash flow. And 2024 was the first year where we generated $850,000 of positive cash flow, and we have no debt on the balance sheet. I'm speeding through those because I just got 5 minutes warning. So that's pretty much what I said about cash. I'm just going to finish with the full year outlook for this year. So we guided our net sales to grow 20 to 25%, our gross margin to be in high 30s. We're targeting to get to break even on EBITDA, and then operating cash flow, $1 to $2 million negative because we're going to invest into inventory in order to meet this 25% net sales demand. So, and we're upholding our guidance so far, and we're going to be reporting our earnings in about 2 weeks shortly here. So Q1 results. So invite you all to tune in. I guess we'll turn it to Q&A.
Yep.
In retail. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so I'll only share what we've publicly stated, so I can't answer all that. But essentially, the way to think about our DTC business at this point is, I'll give you rough numbers. About 60% of our sales are coming from our online business, and about 60% of the online business is coming from DTC. So call it 35, 36%, somewhere around there. Okay. Of that business, about half, I'm using all abouts, about half of that is coming from subscriptions. So yeah, I think that's getting more to your question, which is where we don't have to go out and really spend any additional money. About 18% of our sales is coming in from that. Yes, sir. Yeah, so you remember that bulldog that I mentioned, Gil Arvizo, he's my strategy. So Gil has a team of natural and conventional sales folks that are calling on all our major customers, as well as customers that we want to have as major customers, that are retailers that want to have as major customers. So we're having a lot of success in that. I can't report, we will report those numbers as we get to the next quarter, but based on what we've said thus far, I mean, the way to think about it is Whole Foods has 7 items nationally. Sprouts has 38 or 30, somewhere around there, 38 items-ish nationally. Still, our number one SKU across all of natural, I think, is like a 65% ACV, somewhere around there. So we still have a lot of white space, even on our number one SKU. And as you work your way down the tail, there's quite a bit more. Even though you're in national planogram with, for example, Sprouts, they have 300 and something different formats. So not all those formats can carry everything. So you're still in street fighting, trying to get them to take, hey, in this store, we're missing 2 SKUs. So we're constantly fighting those battles and filling that out. But we haven't reported the total number of doors or the total number of TDPs. We do need to do that, and you'll see some of that coming. When you leave Sprouts, it falls precipitously. I mentioned 7 SKUs at Whole Foods. And when you get over to the conventional world, which is, the Publix, Safeways, Kroger's of the world, our number one item, I think our number one item is somewhere around 5 ACV. So in 5% of all the stores that are selling that product. So that's our number one item, and it falls pretty quickly after that. So we're at this point where natural food brand, which is what we want to be. You want to start in natural food. You want to as a healthy food brand. You want to demonstrate success, and then you want to have Kroger call you and say, "Hey, we noticed what you're doing over there. Come in and talk to us, and get a couple SKUs listed in a few banners," which we've had happen. And then Safeway Albertsons looks over and sees what's going on at Kroger, and they call you and they say, "Hey, come on into our review. We think a few of your SKUs would fit in real nicely here," which we just had happen. So you start to build your distribution as a result of your successes. Otherwise, if you go too far out, you can't support it all. It's very expensive. There's a lot of slotting. You have to be activating. If you don't activate it, you come out. Your ROI looks really, really poor as a result. So we're moving in concentric circles from our core and building against that strong base. Yes, sir. We import some of the ingredients that we use in our products. Coconut's a great example. You don't see a lot of coconut trees being harvested here in the US, so that has to come from overseas. So we do have the ability to mix and match and move production across a number of countries based on how the tariffs roll out. Right now, it's pretty uniform, and it's also pretty uniformly uncertain. So we're in a good, we can't divulge everything at this point, so we get to public forum when we report earnings, but we're in a pretty good position. As Anya mentioned, we're not coming off of our guidance at this point. We feel like we can control the tariff impact this year, and then we'll see what happens. If it's a 10% tariff, I feel pretty good. If it ends up being some countries were like 70, 80%, I wouldn't feel as good, but I don't think there's any reason to believe we're in any worse. And I believe there's reason to believe we're in a better competitive position than the competitors that we have in our categories. So we feel good. That's it. All right. Thanks, guys. Yeah, you bet. Thank you very much.